Important thing to note before we actually look at the rules is that SplitSignal will bucket the pages that we selected based on traffic features like trends, seasonality, and overall amount of sessions. There are 5 test types available. The first being change the text content of the element, like a title, change the element attribute, like a meta description, which is what we're going to do, change the element type, so from an H2 to an H3 as an example, move an element, so moving images on the page, moving H1s, and deleting an element, so outright removing something. SplitSignal allows you to update any element and any attribute on the page, as well as content and attributes of elements as variables for testing, and create whole new templates of content. No developer resources are needed to make these changes. So let's go through a couple examples of these tests. First, we can do a title. This one is easy enough. You can actually just select or just enter in title into the CSS selector for a text content change. You'll see the current here. Maybe I want to add a call to action to the title. Right? So I can add new as an example. I'm in here and grab the current. Make sure that's spaced out. Say new, and then whatever the current is. Now that might not apply very well to this one, so maybe we want to do something a little more advanced. So let's take a look at the example page. You can see here on the example page that there's actually a date available. So maybe we want to add a date to the title for relevancy, as an example. What we can actually do here is come to this variable section and extract it right from the page. No need to actually go into the code. If your JavaScript snippet is implemented, you can actually grab it right from the page. So I can select on page. It'll give me the preview. It'll allow me to grab that element right there, use this selector. It'll pull it in there. Let's give it a name, call it date, extract. And now I can come in here, add the date, and then the current as an example. Right, so I added that date there. Another example for a different type is change element attribute. So we can do something like this with a meta description as an example. So I can grab it and just pull the meta description information. These are pretty uniform across all different sites, so no need to actually select this on a page as an example. So you can see that's pulled in. Now I want to add my call to action here for my meta description as an example. Again, I could do something like new as a call to action. New plus the current. Maybe I want to add a whole new template, right? So maybe I want to say new and I pull the H1, right? As opposed to just what's the meta description currently, right? So that changes it up completely. Maybe I want to, instead of adding the new, something that would be more relevant for all the different types of blog pages. You can use that date again, right? So use that for the meta description instead. Date and then the H1, right? Go in here and add some spaces, make it look a little more pretty. And there you go. That's a new meta description. That's only 2 test types. There's 3 more to review, right? So we get a little more complicated now. Change the element type. So if I want to update an element on the page, maybe there's an H1 or an H2 I want to change to something else, right? I can come in here. Here's the current H1. There's only one on the page. Maybe I want to change it to an H2, right? It'll allow you to just go ahead and select that, and whatever the current H1 is will become an H2. Next up, the move element test. So this is where the select on page really comes in handy. So we'll take our example page. First thing we're going to select is what we want to move. So in this case, let's move the H1. Second part is, where do you want to move it? So we're going to pick an item that you want to move it in relationship to. So in this case, we'll select this image because we want to move it under the image. You see here placement after. You have 3 other options: before, like a first child, and like a last child. Then we're going to select See Preview, and you can see it move down right below the image. Lastly, delete element. So maybe I want to delete something. Maybe I want to delete the image. I can come here and use this selector, and the image will be deleted. So let's go back and reset. What our purpose is here, right? We wanted to do a call to actions in the meta. So again, type in that information. We're going to use our extract variable, date. I'm going to put a little space here, and then I'm going to say each one. All right, so it's a whole new template. Instead of the current, it'll be the date and the current H1 of the page. I'll go ahead and hit next, and then it will allow you to review the test. All right. We'll also give you the warning if it doesn't meet our current recommendations. So current recommendations are at least 100K in traffic in the last 100 days and at least 300 pages. We recommend these numbers to ensure that the test can reach statistical significance. That's not to say that it cannot without those numbers, but it's just a general recommendation. So just keep that in mind. We'll also have the duration up here, 21 days as the automatic. Again, that's usually a good range based on our previous test we've ran, but you can run this out all the way to 42 days or as close as 14 days. We found most success with either 21 days or 28 days. So that's up to you. So after launch, now it's time to review and launch. Here you can take one final look to make sure the test is what you want. Most tests take anywhere from 21 to 28 days, depending on the need. You can adjust that here. After you press the launch button, it's important to note that with SplitSignal, you don't need a data science team. We use a Bayesian model, causal impact to be exact, to make it easy to determine test results. When the test's launched, we just don't compare control and variant. It's not just a before and after look. Instead, we compare the difference, the delta, between variant groups and the forecasted model created.